Hey fam, what's going on? This is Jessica Pickens. Welcome to Pickens Realities, our blended family truths podcast.
No, they didn't get divorced. It's been 22 years. Clock it. Don't try it.
What? I thought you were your mom and dad's divorce. Are you talking about when we hit that just very difficult spot? Yeah.
I know it was like stuff that happened.
The stuff that happened was kids. Really, it was you and Jayla.
Well,
that was the hard part. The divorce conversation, the thought, the contemplation of divorce for us
choking
was because I got to a point, like in all seriousness, where I felt like I was being forced to choose my husband over my son.
Okay, so misunderstanding and conflict. So we've had the conversation. You know, this actually kind of makes me feel like maybe me and Jayla are the golden children of the family, the black sheep. You know, the black sheep always come out on top. Clock it, brother. Clock it, brother. Okay. Anyway, so misunderstandings happen quite often in any family. You know, something as simple as, hey, I thought I told you to clean the line. Like the other day when we were talking about the storage unit and they were saying, you know, we're still going to pay the fee. And you were like, well, I told you guys to have it out by the 1st. And we're like, no, you just said like, hey, like,
need to get it done.
Right. Mm-hmm. But in her brain, she didn't say it. I
said a date. Yeah, I said a specific detail when y'all are going,
I feel like a lot of people have internal dialogue that they never have
Your
out
dad
loud.
Does it all the time.
I do it all the time as well.
He's mean mugging me over there, y'all.
So misunderstandings can lead to huge conflicts.
Yes.
And something my dad has always told us as kids is don't let a temporary situation make you make a permanent decision.
Yes.
So, you all almost made a permanent decision off a temporary situation. So how did your communication affect that? Because while it was about the kids, you're saying like, whole time, you know, I'm choosing you over my baby, but he feels like you're choosing your baby over him.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it was with me. I don't know if it was...
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Well, at that time, my perception at that point was that, you know, you hated my guts pretty much. You know, so remember, this is when this pinnacle happened when Jayla was graduating and he had left the house and it was just very, very like...
Oh, so we was like
you had
teenage.
Just come back. Yeah, okay. you had lived with your mom for that summer, and that wasn't panning out because you thought you wanted to be with your mom, but then that wasn't panning out. You wanted to come back and get enrolled back in school. So so there was just a lot of very difficult challenges related, again, primarily to you and Jayla, because Eric had just started the military at this point because he had already graduated. You know what I'm saying? This was Jayla's senior year. And at the tail end of that, and where stuff was occurring that stuff like, I think because he was supposed to do 2 proms and one of them he didn't come home that night because they was out doing what teenagers do.
Well, I would have never been able to do that.
And
my prom night had to be at home at 10 p.m. Boy, the party was just getting started at 10. What are you talking about?
That is not correct.
11 at the latest.
Actually,
I couldn't even come home at midnight.
Yes, it was, because your mom actually slept on the couch, and that was the first time she ever stayed the night at the house. And I was thinking to myself, I am letting my husband's ex-wife
I was late. My curfew was 11.
No,
I was late.
No, for prom you were given 1 o'clock for your prom. It was an exception, and your mom stayed and slept on the couch because we were trying to make sure that you made it home because we both worked on your dress.
1 o'clock, 12 o'clock. The party was just getting started. Okay,
parents record.
Now the boys, they can be outside till 3 a.m. We'll deal with it in the morning. You know what I'm saying? Like, cut me some slack.
Back to your question, the communication piece there. we had to choose to engage professional counseling again at that point because things were in such shambles is the word that comes to mind.
Detrimental.
They were beyond detrimental because when, and again, in full transparency, your dad had actually packed a bag and said he was leaving and he left.
He packed a pair of underwear, a pair of socks, a shirt with a hole in it.
So while you're laughing, it wasn't funny, because he made this speech saying,
put it in all the bag.
two grown men can't live in this house, and he was talking about Jayla because he was, his name ain't on the mortgage. I mean, he went through this. He went off because he was upset because he felt like I was taking Jalen's side over his, and I was letting Jaylen do what Jaylen did and not dropping the hammer down. And he actually packed a bag and he was like, "I'm done. I'm out. I cannot."
You ain't packed our
and
bags.
I had to.
He was gonna leave us with her.
He did not.
The mugs is crazy. Forget everybody. The kids.
He packed a bag and left, and
Dang, you was gonna make her a single mother and kid. She ain't even.
It's all fun and games now. It was not.
It's crazy.
I was, and I literally felt like that. Like I done.
Hold on, nigga. These
sold in. I done raised your kids. Neither you nor they mama been doing what I've been doing, and you got enough nerve to pack up and roll out? Okay.
That's crazy.
All over and again, in my head, I'm going, I brought one to the table. You brought three. Like, what is going on?
Hey, I'm leaving with six.
This is real talk, y'all, right? And so I had to call Dad Walton, and I'm like, he packed the bag. And so Dad had to track him down, and we had to, and then that was actually when I wound up packing Dawson and Gabby up.
Hold on, wait. So, did you bring up the issues like with me because you felt like it was like you talking about my son? Jayla be all there with me.
You know what? It unfortunately, a reality is again, if you are not mature enough, and I'm sure a lot of families experience this, so you got to really deal with this. The tit for tat was real because I felt like I'm over here eating all of this mistreatment by your daughter, and you over here throwing a hot fit about my son. That's how it felt. And so it was always, he say something about Jayla, I say something about Jayla. I say something about Jayla, he say something about Jaylin.
Well, excuse the heck out of me.
And so it was, well, of course, because we didn't, the one thing I'm grateful for is say what you want. And I always feel for kids whose parents don't have those conversations. Like y'all didn't see that. Yeah. The one thing, and I'm grateful that we had enough God sense. I don't even know if it was common sense, but enough for the Holy Ghost to know we did not do that in front of you all. We did not. Yeah. So you were not exposed to when we would be really going
That's
at
crazy.
it.
I've never...
I don't know that y'all have ever seen us.
The only time we've ever really seen y'all argue, it'd be about like groceries or like food or, like we ain't ever seen them have like real arguments for real. And now that I think about that.
And they existed. And I think a big part of that too was one, your dad, as he expressed in that episode where he grew up and unfortunately with violence in a household where we just knew out the gate. And for me, I just, because of not having my dad there, just what I went through where again, we had just knew out the gate that is not something we were going to do. And I had been in previous relationships that were not the best, that include mental abuse, verbal abuse, a couple times physical abuse. And I just, one thing, one of the reasons why I didn't make it with, the relationship didn't last with Jalen's dad is because it was just a too unhealthy environment. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, no, man, I'll be a single mom before not doing it.
That's how I be feeling. I be like, listen, I'm glad my baby's dad don't exist right now.
And so the piece of communication when it came to when we had hit that point where I just was like, I don't know that we can make it through this, right? I had to take a break. And that's when I got Dawson and Gabby and I went and I spent 4 or 5 days at my best friend's house, just really having some prayer time and really just seeking God. Like, this is rough, yo. Like, and talking to my sister, who was my spiritual mom, and talking to Dad Walton. And I got to a point where, what?
Because I'm thinking, like,
I'm like, oh,
TT Teresa, she your God mom.
My spiritual mom. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But I can only imagine she's still your sister. So I can only imagine if me and Gabby had, like, if I was like her spiritual mom, I'm like, but in real life, bump that dude. Like, forget him. You can do good without him. But I'm just saying, God wouldn't like that. I just feel like that's how you and TTB. Not for real.
No, but it came to a point where, excuse me, I had to dig deep, and I did not want to be divorced. I just did not. So that's the first thing is, again, you have to communicate with yourself and be honest with yourself. And for me, when I said, I really wanted for me in my life and for it to be one and done, man, like, who's got time to be trying to do all that over? Like, yeah, no. And I did not want my kids, any of them, go. And then you start running scenarios. And no matter what the status of the relationship was, you start going, okay, if we get divorced, well, I'm still young, I would want to be married again. Well, how does that work? So then, do my kids that I didn't birth, do they still call me mom? Do they still come around? Are they still part? I just started running all these scenarios.
At the age that y'all said that it happened, I feel like we would still be calling you mom. It would still be.
And but I called your dad and I said, listen, the only way
y'all couldn't block people at that point either
is that we have to go back to professional marital counseling, like ASAP. And again, his response was, if that's what you want to do, like, that's his typical. Like, no,
that's his, I love you too, baby. I'm coming back home.
But no, it wasn't that. I think that's great.
I'm cold outside.
But I was wise enough, because the old me, a lot of times that used to tick me off, because I'd be like, well, what do you want to do?
Right.
Don't say, well, if that's what you want to do. Well, how about communicate? What do you want to do?
But I feel like men don't never communicate that.
Well,
let me not say men don't never communicate. Men communicate that. Yeah. But I feel like they're more prone to saying it's whatever you want to do, because they always want to. Happy wife, happy life. I don't believe in that. I believe happy spouses.
Agreed.
Happy marriage.
Right now, again, there's always a balance of wisdom. And I know that Dad Walton taught your dad well when it comes to, men, in my opinion, and based on my experience of now over 22 years of marriage, and just knowing, working around men, and the men from my husband to my sons to, the men that I've seen in my life, to the counseling and the reality of what other people gleaning, because, you sit there and you spot check, because I'll be like talking to my sister or other married women, and then to Dad Walton, is it just me? Or is this like a common thing with all men, as far as just, we're usually more detailed. Men are usually more general, and again, we believe in the Lord, right? We're believers. And so when I look at, okay, how God designed a man versus how God designed a woman to bring that balance, you just have some things that typically innately will carry across generalities. Your dad, because he's thinking big picture, he's protector, he's thinking long term, he's speaking. So he doesn't, the way that he's squaring up in boxing, so it comes across more general, where I'm detailed nuts and bolts logistics. Right now, he's ops and logistics once it's necessary, but just in general, he's not going to dive out the gate.
You're book smarts, he's street smarts, basically.
Yeah,
that's why I feel like. That's why I feel like equally yoked is. I feel like people misconstrue what equally yoked is. They think equally yoked is you're the same person, you think the same, you act the same. But I feel like in reality, equally yoked is one person knows how to handle money, one person don't. One person knows how to clean, one person don't. So that you guys can even each other out.
Well, and that's another, but I like that analogy, and I agree with you on that, right? And so, but to your analogy makes a lot of sense, is what I'm saying. I'm agreeing on. Now, the Bible study portion of it and what the word meant as far as being equally yoked, I think from a perspective of spiritual maturity and
Right,
one
sure.
where you are. But I agree with you. It's a balance, right?
Yeah.
In that sense.
So-
and so to circle to land this portion of the question, the communication piece was somebody had to communicate a potential resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So one, and I couldn't have drug him down the street on that. So we both had to make a decision and communicate. Do we want to stay married?
Choice.
Number one. And we both said yes. And then it was, okay, so how are we going to do that? And for me, I said, this is a take it or leave it. We have to go back to counseling ASAP because I cannot do this anymore. I can't do the daily tit for tat. I can't do the one kid left socks on the ground and it triggers this. And then we're doing I can't. It was too stressful. And when regardless of it not being a warm and fuzzy, yes, I agree. It was if that's what you want to do, I took it and okay,
yes,
thank you.
Yes, yeah.
I will call. And then I called, and so I came home and we put in the work, man. So
let's talk about the argument you all had in the car.
Which one?
Which one? that's
what
they be arguing at. That's what it was in the
I'm
car.
like, which argument in the car?
I don't know, per request.
The argument in the car. What are we talking about?
You can blurb them out on this one. What are you talking about?
Tennessee, Ohio State. Long drives.
Pick one.
Tennessee, Ohio State. Well. First of all, Ohio State. No, I'm thinking of McKendree first and foremost. Yeah, it wasn't Ohio State. It was McKendree.
Oh, what happened at the what happened? Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's actually get into
various methods and whatnot in today's world of technology. So, we were dropping Dominic off back at school. Or I don't know what you're over there doing, but okay. We were at McKendree doing whatever. And we were getting ready to head back home. And I don't know why I had your dad's phone, whether a call had come or whatever may have you, or I might have been doing the music. Well, all of a sudden, this text message, I see a text message from a female that he worked with.
A female that he worked with is crazy.
And she was inquiring about him attending some get-together or party that was happening. But she wasn't inquiring about us attending. She was inquiring about him
See, and that's what it be. Your work wife.
So I'm going to scroll, Negro, because what? Why? So why is this lady asking you about coming to a get? Oh, that ain't nothing. Blah, 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 blah. So now I'm scrolling.
This is year how many of marriage?
Oh, Dominic was in college. So you would have been
this year like 12.
You were either a junior or senior in high school. Yeah. So, we're talking, it's been a minute, It'd been a minute. It'd been more like about 11 or 12 years. 12, 13 years. So a long time.
Okay, y'all. It was 13 or 12 years. A phone number pops up inviting this man to a party.
And so, because life is life. You work, everybody, you ain't running around blind. Well, and and it's both sides. It's but so I'm scrolling. And I'm like, yo, can you stop and bring me coffee? So
getting in the car,
this man been picking up coffee on the way to work for these females and
coffee on the way to work.
So my first line of questioning and communicating was, why is she asking you about coming to us? She ain't asking if we coming. Oh, it ain't like that. So he's doing it. Oh no, I'm like, don't play dumb. You gonna sit up here and act like you don't know what's going on here. You gonna act like you don't know what's she trying to do? What do you mean? It's not even like that.
Because mind you, in her head, she has him in a chokehold asking these questions, right?
And mind you, he's driving. Dawson and Gabby are in the back.
In La La Land.
And when I'm scrolling and I see that you've been stopping and taking coffee to like 2-3 different females and picking up, they putting in coffee orders and this one want this one and this one that one. And I was like, have you lost your freaking mind? What are you doing? I'm like, this is not you're married. Well, it's just coffee. No, it's not just coffee. It's inappropriate. Oh, you want me sashaying up in the Capitol bringing coffee to a group of men? Is that cool with you, bruh? You know, and
he clutched his pearls, I'm sure.
So he starts driving crazy now. Now you want to start speeding on these little back roads. So now I got to communicate and tell you, you're a whole grown up. You're acting like a kid. My babies are in this back seat. If you don't act like you can drive without being all ridiculous, stop the car and get out. I'll drive.
You get out and I'll drive.
But we had to, we then chose to bring it down and talk through. And I'm like, dude, this is not okay. This is how affairs happen. Let's just be real. Let's just talk about it. So it starts out with, I said, so was you planning to go to this little get? Well, no, I wasn't. I said, well, you didn't tell me about it. You ain't mentioned this. Well, first of all, you ain't never mentioned it. Oh, honey, by the way, does it bother you that they asked me to stop and pick up coffee? So again, if you communicate, you have to be real careful. The devil is slick, y'all. Like straight up. Cause I'm a grown man. I can't bring coffee like he was doing that. I can't take coffee to a friend. Oh, now I can't even have female friends. Well, let's be clear. If it comes to this, Ninja, no. You want a wife or you want a friend?
Okay, period. You want your family?
Because if other females cannot respect appropriate boundaries, I ain't finna be texting no married man like that, asking them to bring me coffee on the way to work.
True enough.
Not doing it because it's not appropriate. And so that's another piece of communication. We're out the gate. So one, particularly in any marriage, but number two, when you've had a blended family, which means somebody's either had, you brought kids to the party, whether you were married or not, you've been through some stuff already that resulted in your original setup of a family didn't make it. So assessing what had happened was to be honest with how do you not repeat is very crucial.
So I feel like that is very crucial and something that people have to learn and understand when you're in a long-term relationship, when you're in a marriage, there's a difference between communication and transparency. So communication,
well, they go hand in hand. But go ahead. Go ahead.
They go hand in hand
because you have to communicate to be transparent.
But communication is, hey, I was invited to a party. Transparency is, hey, I've been, giving information and like not involuntary information, but involuntary information without the person having to dig and ask. That's what I feel like transparency is.
You mean voluntary, not involuntary.
Yeah.
Voluntary. I'm voluntarily letting you know what's going on.
Because
correct.
I feel like the transparency
but you
portion,
still have to communicate it to be transparent.
But I feel like the transparency portion can save a lot of marriages and situations. Simply, like even with kids, like being transparent with your parents about, hey, mom, listen, I've been having a rough week. I didn't get my homework assignment turned in. Correct. So before they say something, I'm just letting you know.
This is what it is.
I already know you're going to have a problem, but I'm just letting you know.
This is like what happened.
Because that gives people a choice.
That is correct.
To how they react to a situation. I always tell anybody that I deal with, I would rather you tell me something and hurt my feelings
and give
than
me the choice.
Find out.
Yes.
And it'd be a totally different situation. Because if you cheated on me and you lie about it and I find out, that blows everything up. But if you cheated on me and you tell me, that gives me the choice, the option to have a choice. Like, okay, do I want to stay with this person? Or do I want to be like, okay, we can work through this and keep it pushing? So I feel like in situations like that, like even with the Tennessee situation, when we was coming back that morning, when some random lady It's always some random lady with this guy. Who is this? Whose man's is this? No, I'm kidding. But I just feel like when you're communicating with your spouse about your children, about whatever, I think all parties have to be very transparent with how they're actually thinking.
Well, and I agree with you, but let me take it one step, back it up and take it a step further. Here's the piece that people miss, that we missed, and that I would encourage families out there, current, blended, preparing to blend, traditional, want to be traditional. You have to set the rules to the game first. Discuss what the appropriate boundaries are. Hey, how do you feel about friends of the opposite sex? Hey, what's an appropriate thing when it comes to me communicating with someone that's of the opposite sex that may be a friend of mine, but you don't know them? Hey, is it appropriate? Sit down and talk through, communicate through. How do you keep, number one, your marriage safe and subsequently your family safe by setting appropriate rules and boundaries and be in agreement about that? Because then and then as you go along, you tweak and adjust. When you go, you know what, I thought I'd be okay with you I know this is your best friend or one of your good female friends from high school, but I feel uncomfortable with the level of relationship.
I feel like that'd be fake, because I feel like in real life, if they really somebody that you've been friends with since high school and that's it, like when you get married, that person becomes more friends with the spouse.
That's how it should be.
You know what I'm saying?
But if it doesn't, then there's an issue. That's my point. But the only way, then the way to avoid it crossing over into inappropriate boundaries, which can lead to anything, and including and up to, of course, affairs, is you have to address it, right? God bless you.
Thank you.
And then you have to deal with what is going on with you as an individual. Like your dad and I have talked about this. So here's a level of transparency that it's uncomfortable, but I hope it can help other couples. Your dad gravitated to attention from other women because it fulfilled his need to be needed. Because I'm alpha female, type A. I'm out here doing the things.
Right.
And so there has been a struggle where he didn't particularly feel like I needed him because I had, but that comes from the root of that is I've had to fight for myself and take care of me in a large way my whole life. And trust factors too, right? Yeah, way hyper independent. And if other men that I had been involved with before always let me down, my philosophy was if I handle it, you can't let me down because I ain't going to let me down. Or even if I flub it, I got nobody to blame but me.
Right.
Right. And so you have to really, again, healthy marriage, healthy family has got to be rooted and based in healthy individuals from the husband and the wife to the kids, which all is predicated upon communication in various ways with yourself, with each other, through counseling, and having targeted specific conversations that deal with, that assess, right? So remember, we talked about a process. Well, and I'll assess, unpack, plan, and work. Assess, unpack, plan, strategize, and then do the work. Assess. Why are we having this issue? Why is there a female in your phone texting you about coffee? Because the minute that happens,
had a baby and the baby loves his legs.
So had you cut that off in the beginning, I wouldn't be looking at this chain of text messages. And she felt comfortable enough to text him to ask him to invite him to an event that did not include an invitation for his wife as well, because you've been communicating with her about coffee over X amount of time.
Right.
So assess, okay, so this is a problem, right? Unpack. How do we get there? Now that I've assessed and identified the issue, now getting that unpacked, what was going on to why that was okay in his brain?
Right.
Oh, well, it was fulfilling his need to feel needed. Oh, and whether he would ever want to admit it or not, it feels good if you feel like you ain't getting what you need from your spouse or at home and your kids, and somebody else is making you feel cute, warm, and fuzzy, smart, needed. It's a problem. So you got to get. And so, but instead of going, you know what? Let me check myself. Why does this feel good to me? And it's coming from someone that's not appropriate, because this is not my husband. This is not my wife. What is going on with me? And let me get to the root of that, right? Mm-hmm. So after you assess, you identify it, then plan to work, strategize. How do I fix it? Well, he fixed it. I fixed it. He didn't fix it. Okay, let's be clear. This is over.
Right.
I bet not. See, not damn another text.
Right.
Right. And then you got to put in the work. You got to stick to the plan. He then had to be responsible to draw the line and go tell the colleagues that he worked with.
Hey, she slipped.
Playtime is today. Over. I got kicked out the sandbox. My wife is not appreciative. No more coffee. Don't invite me to your stuff. Yeah, no.
No more coffee.
Right. And so you have to go through this process. And then it's the same thing. It's rinse and repeat with your kids and each one of them. Yeah. Because every individual has their own individual set of what?
Boom. Stop. Wait. On issues. Stop.
Which is baggage, luggage. Oh. Yes.
I'm like, which is what? You gonna tell all our issues? No, okay, so boom. So let me switch the lanes a little bit. So let's talk about being heard and understood. Okay, so did you feel heard and understood as a kid? If not, what helped you feel heard? So this is going to, that question was kind of for me. Because we know where you were and how you felt. And your mom was civil rights activist. Whoa, Nana, I'm sorry. I apologize. Women's rights activist.
Yeah. Well, both actually for her. Yeah, and it's okay. So white people can be civil rights activists too. There were lots.
No, I thought that was just a shot at her age. That's why I'm like, I'm sorry, Nana. But so I'll start it. So as a child, I felt like the older I got, the more heard, quote unquote, I was. Mm-hmm. But I felt like I was often not understood.
That's fair.
I don't know. I just feel like when I actually like moved out, I started to become one in my own, and started to set aside the fear of not being understood. Because often, again, like I would get in trouble, like me and my dad was just talking about this, how he just now realized that, a lot of the times, like when I would like jap out or over a simple conversation, it was because of the fact that when I was younger, I felt like if I told the truth, I wasn't understood. And if I didn't tell the truth, I wasn't understood. So regardless, I'm not understood. Mm-hmm. So it's just more prone to, which inevitably made me have situations where I would be in friendships that would be chaotic, or I would have relationships that would be situationships that would be chaotic. Just off of the strength of feeling like I was never heard or understood and longing for that. Right. So what helped you feel heard and understood as a mom, as a wife in this situation, if you've never felt heard or understood?
So I can say that one, being heard and understood in my genre, like it was never even a topic that was discussed or posed as a question. Mm-hmm. And we were, I just, our circumstances led to us having to grow up really quick and take on just adult responsibilities, a lot of them as kids. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't feel heard or understood because you just had to do what you had to do. I wasn't never asked. So you can't feel heard if you're not being asked something for someone to hear what you have to say, let alone being understood.
Right.
Which I think when and again, your dad has expressed the same. So unfortunately, that impacted how we parented you all, because again, you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't take the time to assess, how can I be a better parent for my children? And again, this is again exponentially magnified with blended families, because you have different sets of experiences. You're coming into a situation where if you are not methodical and very intentional about your approach,
methodical
your conversations,
means calculated in what you do.
and having a method. Yeah. Just sit down and assess what have we experienced and what do we think we need to do different to do better for our family, our current family, right? And so had we taken the time to do that, and had we had information at the beginning that said children being heard and understood as best as possible is an important thing to consider, we could have had the chance to think about incorporating strategies into our parenting styles that would have tried to achieve that. We didn't.
Yeah, it was a lot of what we say go around these
right.
lots.
And so and that's a lot because of how we were raised, which again didn't particularly, while you're a mom now, you've even said this, you get it to a certain degree, like you have to find the right balance. So getting to your question, as far as have I felt heard and understood as a parent, I'm just now getting to a point, and again, this podcast is a blessing because I think, as you and I are unpeeling these layers back, and me and you and your dad and what we're doing, it spills over and makes me realize how I want to be able to work on stuff for all my kids. Not, like I feel like you and I, again, have grown so tight and we're getting this opportunity to peel back layers that have happened because we made a decision. Okay, yeah, we're going to sit and we're going to talk about this, not just us talking about it for healing as a family, but because we want to help other people. And it has blessed tremendously, which makes me go, dang, I have felt really misunderstood. Like even when Dom was on the show and you two are going, well, yeah, it looked like this. And I'm like, oh my God, that's not, that's really not what was intended. Even when we do some of the reels and we put it on social media and these comments, like the one about you in the corduroy pants, that reel is out there. And someone commented, that basically saying that's crazy, being punished because of your shape, and I get people's opinion, and that's how you felt. But I was like, but that's not what it was from my perspective, right? And again, people's perspective is their reality. In my head, I felt like you all, I don't know why I thought kids were gonna understand. Oh, mom means well. And understand my perspective when that was not the case. So now being able to talk through this and have these conversations with you has led me to understand, again, I'm still, while I have adult children, we're still the older adults. And so I have to take accountability and say, it's on me to reach out to my kids, even individually, and say, you know what? I want continued, improved, healthy relationship with each one of my kids. And I feel like I didn't do this when you were growing up. So let me ask you this now. What do you need from me for us to have a better relationship? Because I feel like I may be a bit misunderstood, And so now it's on me to work that process. So it's not that I feel better heard and understood just because right now as a parent. No, I still have to choose to put in the work, and I'm actively having to do that now. And I have to learn to give you all space for your opinion and say, well, no, that's not what I meant, or that's not what I mean, and not let it set off an argument because I feel like you're being disrespectful because you don't agree.
That'd be the biggest one. Because parents in y'all age range and up love to say, because we don't agree. And that's what makes kids shut down and not want to talk and not say nothing. Because we feel like, okay, well then why are you asking me questions?
Well, I think it's okay. Again, it does take mature adults, right? On the older adults, the parents still have to choose to be the more mature individual. But it's also tone. So again, so kids your age, y'all so social media, I can say anything and everything to everybody and let the world see it's like y'all have no bridle, no restraint, no. And so you're free to be me. I can say what I want, dress how I want, do what I want. And that's just the world today and accept it. That's hard for us to accept. And it does come off disrespectful because you just feel like you can say how you want to say, when you want to say it, and talk to your parents like we your friend out here in the streets, and it comes off disrespectful.
I feel like it's a half and half. It'd be some situations where it's like, yeah, some kids will talk to their parents crazy, and there's one thing, but like there's another thing in our generation acknowledging and understanding, hey, y'all grew up in a time where y'all couldn't speak and y'all had to be quiet and y'all had to watch out for everybody else and y'all had to move out the way when white people was walking down the sidewalk. We not going for that. Y'all not finna tell us we're less than I feel like our generation has acknowledged the fact that, hey, there's no big eyes and little U's over here. Yeah, we're all adults, and to get respect, you have to give respect. Now, I completely agree with
there's levels.
You have to respect your parents, but in the same breath, as an adult, you can't see me in the lens of a 5-year-old all of my life just because I'm your child. You can't expect me to respond to you like I'm 15 and I'm 38. That's not going to happen.
I agree with you.
So
but
I
you
feel
can
like
still,
it has to
you
be...
can still, so even with me and my mother, when things happen that just make me want to blow the moon up, right? Like I have to still choose within myself in that moment to say, this is my mom, and I want to express myself, but let me do it in a way that is respectful. It can still be impactful and powerful and respectful all at the same time.
I mean, it can be,
that's
but
the piece.
Your tone and delivery to her ears can sound like you saying, hey, you better stop. But in your brain, you're saying, hey, like, I don't like how you did this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but this is where the communication and relationship piece comes in. Mm-hmm. And this is where learning, like to go all the way back to the beginning of the conversation as we prepare to land this plane, understanding the communication styles of each family member, how they talk and how they receive and then sometimes you just still have to choose to be that bigger person and be the one that's going to do the best that you can to get it right when it comes to a tone and what am I trying to say? Somebody has to choose to put in the extra effort to keep things on track when it comes to communicating, even when you know, like I know you're spicy. I know where you are in your life right now, right? So even I can choose to let spicy Jessica come out, or I can choose to be the bigger person and go, Marche, hey,
it's gonna be 2 jalapenos then.
But you see what I mean? Or I can choose to either put some space, or I can choose, okay, let me have your dad talk to you, or I can choose, hey, listen, and here, check this out. Here's a thought, y'all. You can literally say, hey, I need to have an uncomfortable conversation with you. Mm-hmm. We need to discuss something that is challenging and awkward, and I don't like it, but we need to talk about it because we need to deal with it. Mm-hmm. So do I have your permission to broach this subject with you? And can we have a civil conversation? We may not agree, but let's just have a respectful, calm conversation, and we can take it in stages if we need to, but we need to talk about this. And see, I had never been taught such. Mm-hmm. And so if I, as we again prepare, to wrap this up, if that is one of the key things that I would like to leave with our audience today around communication. take a moment and really think through how can you communicate with your husband and your children in a respectful and a safe manner and in a way that honors each individual person. And you have to know what people have been through to be able to do that correctly, which means you have to take the time to make sure you have built a foundation, at least a semblance of it, right? At least trying for trust and relationship so that it doesn't matter, bio or bonus kids. It really doesn't, because you can have, there are traditional families that grow up with their mother, father, child, children in the house, and they don't talk.
At all.
But you have to understand who you're dealing with to be able to communicate safely, respectfully, and effectively with that person. So it's all intertwined, right? But not addressing issues, not figuring them out, and then not addressing them, it sets you up for disaster.
Sweeping stuff under the rug only builds dirt under the rug. And then there becomes a pile of dirt. And you start tripping over the rug because there's all this dirt that you done swept under the rug.
And that's, and that's a whole nother episode we'll get into as far as accountability. Because then when you establish that relationship, like now, I feel like, and we can do it right here, right now. When you're in a real relationship with someone, and then you sometimes have to verbally say, we agree to hold each other accountable. I want the best for you. I love you. I want the best for you. I respect you. I want to see you become all that God has for you to be. So I'm going to hold you accountable. When I see you straying or doing some crazy, hey, do I have your permission? And parents think it's automatic. But see, sometimes sitting down talking about this, do I have your permission, even now with you as a grown-up and you have a daughter, to say, hey, I'm seeing some things that concern me. Let's have a conversation.
And
what's
I'm not
really
gonna
going
lie,
on?
when you have an accountability partner is not someone that's supposed to sit and hold your hand and be like, oh, well, no, I'm not enabling your behavior. I'm making you accountable and aware of the fact that you're tweaking or slipping or falling off or not being yourself or whatever. And sometimes it's going to get to a point where like y'all do have a back and forth, because sometimes it hurts to be accountable. Sometimes it hurts for somebody to tell you like, girl, you musty. Okay. Go put some deodorant on, and you get offended.
Or you ought not wear that outside.
Right. But a part of
Don't
growing,
do it.
and ultimately it's still your choice what you want to do. But
when people care, they bring it to your attention.
Right.
They don't want you out here smelling crazy,
they ain't gonna say
crazy.
nothing to you. They just gonna be in your face and never talk to you again. You know?
So let's take
landing
away.
it.
Yes.
Taking away. Communication is key. Learn everyone's communication style. So how you may want to be talked to is not how everybody else wants to be talked to.
And that means be intentional. You got to create the plan and work the plan. Again, assess, unpack, plan and strategize, and then do the work, right? So figuring out, how do you go about learning your spouse, number one, and then your children? Because in a blended family, and you got to keep it all on track. And it may take different strategies to build relationship with your bonus kids. Is a different level of work than continuing to build and grow and keep and maintain relationship with your bio kids. It's particularly in a blended family when there's unsettling or unease and a lot of emotions around what does this mean? Is this the same? Do you like this new person more than you like me? Do you like your new kids? There's a lot going on there. So intentional work to learn.
Yeah.
Your family members.
I feel like, those are really it.
Do the work, y'all. Yeah.
Work.
So I would, you just take the time to really sit down and assess. And here's the thought that came to my spirit, honestly, yesterday, when we were at our family's house and I was talking to your TT Nikki, because it makes you, sometimes stuff just pops in your head. And I would just pose this final question, and leave this for y'all to think about. You think you know your kids, but do you really?
Dun, dun, dun.
Do you really?
Thanks for coming to another episode. No, for real though. Thanks for coming to another episode. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn our post notifications on. And we'll be back with more videos where we talk about blended family matters because blended families matter. Peace.